we are live. When you're doing this podcast alone, it is the most awkward thing to sit here by yourself. Welcome back to the Our Real Addiction podcast, everybody. Unfortunately, Miguel is unable to join me in on this episode, so it's just me riding solo here today. So it is probably going to be a shorter episode because it's going to be very fact-based. Obviously, welcome back to the Our Real Addiction podcast. You are here either watching episode 131 or listening to episode 131. So if you're tuning in either way via video or audio on an audio platform, I thank you and appreciate you so much. We obviously got box office. We got the only good thing, in my opinion, that came out of San Diego Comic-Con 2023 this season. We also got donations towards SAG-AFTRA and big names who are donating towards them. And lastly, a rumor that there may be a new Spider-Man film in development that does not include Tom Holland. So we're going to get into all of that. But if you already haven't, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening, it is youtube.com/@ourrealaddiction. And if you're obviously watching, we hope you suggest subscribing to the show or subscribing to the YouTube channel, because here on YouTube, on the YouTube platform, we exclusively have Movie News Monday and TV Inquiry. Both of those shows will be back next week. I know we said they would be back this week, but unfortunately, we just weren't able to get episodes out this week. So we will have them back next week. No worry. Please do not worry. But in the meantime, we have put out both topic discussions for both Barbie and Oppenheimer. So the Barbenheimer back-to-back special feature, we released an episode on Friday and Saturday just for you guys. That completely we immediately give our thoughts seeing both films over the weekend, and of course that has been the conversation of topics. So if you haven't already, please go check that out. Please go check out every episode of Movie News Monday that we've done, and also TV Inquiry. They're both fun shows. Movie News Monday being a shorter style show, about 10 minutes or so, and TV Inquiry being about 20 minutes, where Miguel talks about two of his favorite shows that he is currently watching or has watched. And there's great recommendations on there for all of you if you are looking to branch out and widen your TV show plethora when it comes to what you're watching. But again, as always, you can find us on Instagram at Our Real Addiction, and on Twitter at Our Real Pod, and also on TikTok at Our Real Addiction. We're also on Threads, but I don't think anybody's using that anymore. Kind of a dying gap at Our Real Addiction as well. But yeah, we're gonna jump right into the episode. So we're just gonna jump immediately into the box office. Obviously, we go from 5 to 1. We do the top 5 from the most recent current week in the month. So this is the box office for July 21st through the 23rd. Coming in at number 5 is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, making $6.7 million. Still hanging on. Hasn't made a lot of money back, but it more or less kind of broke even. It is currently sitting at $336 million worldwide, 159 of that being domestic and 176 of that being international. Disney obviously losing big on these films, especially with obviously Indiana Jones, Elemental, and a lot of the Marvel films have been losing Disney some money. Unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Coming in at number 4 is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which is rumored to be delayed past next year. It made $19.4 million over its second weekend, where it currently sits at $373 million worldwide, 120 of that being domestic and 252 of that being international. Coming in at number 3 is The Sound of Freedom, making $9.8 million, bringing the grand total up to $127 million, all of that being domestic. coming in at number 2, with no surprise because it is a very, very long movie, is Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, making $82.5 million, currently sitting at $209 worldwide in less than a week at the box office. 95 of that being domestic and 114 of that being international. And with no surprise, at the number one at the box office this weekend is Greta Gerwig's Barbie, making $162 million domestically in its opening box office weekend, currently sitting at $382 million, 180 of that being domestic and 194 of that being international, for the grand total of $332 million. Obviously, if you haven't seen Barbenheimer, I would suggest checking it out. It was Warner Brothers' most successful month since our opening weekend since The Dark Knight. Barbie is breaking records, and it's probably going to make some more, as it did have a very, very successful weekend over its opening weekend. So again, they were both great, fantastic films. If you already haven't, go check it out. Check them out. Also, check out our spoiler reviews. Spoiler on Barbie, question mark on the Oppenheimer spoilers, really, because it's American history. But yeah, they're both fantastic films. Miguel and I both enjoyed both of those films, and we really praise them for what they are in those episodes. So please be sure to check them out. We'll link them down in the descriptions I'll link them down in the description of this episode, because they're both fantastic reviews. They're both fantastic movies, and they deserve all the praise they are getting. At least for me personally, I've always thought very, very highly of Christopher Nolan, but there was never, before Oppenheimer, there was never really a film that made me be like, oh my gosh, like the way super excited over a Chris Nolan film as everybody else has been. And I think Oppenheimer has really, really done that for me, because it, one, I want to see it in obviously 70 millimeter IMAX, but I don't think I can wait a full month to get tickets for it, because that's the soonest time you can get a decent seat to see it. So I'll probably be seeing it 9 times, or not 9 times, 3 times in the movie theaters, just because it's fantastic. It's been on my mind since I've seen it, and I just can't help but feel very, very excited for the success that both Oppenheimer and Barbie are getting, and well so deserved, really, because they are fantastic films. If you're wondering where they sit in terms of how they are being received, Barbie is currently sitting at a 90% with the thermometer and an 80% with the audience score. So obviously Greta Gerwig having success in her films, as people the audience tend to do, love the films that she is making, and I think like this is really gonna kickstart Greta Gerwig's career, in terms of this is gonna be the movie where people start to notice her as a filmmaker, and she's going to be able to be put in the conversation of a filmmaker and director that you really want a part of helming a big production. I feel like obviously Barbie is the biggest production that she has made to date. Don't get me wrong, she's only about 4 to 5 films into her career, with 2 more coming along the way. With Netflix and the reboot of the Chronicles of Narnia. And I think Netflix was kind of ahead of its curve, because there's going to be a high demand after this film for Greta Gerwig. On the opposite side, for Oppenheimer, it is sitting at a 94 at the thermometer and a 93 with the audience score. This does tie, I believe, for critical rating, Oppenheimer with The Dark Knight. So The Dark Knight is also scored at a 94, tying it for Christopher Nolan's most highly rated film. Obviously, a lot of people are going to choose The Dark Knight over Oppenheimer, and rightfully so. With Oppenheimer, it's a lot more, I would say it's a lot it's obviously two completely different films. However, with Oppenheimer, there is kind of an expectancy to kind of know what's going on in that time of in the time of World War II. So it's obviously you can know the simpler things, but there is a lot of jumping around that can be difficult for the average moviegoer, even me. It was kind of very, in my opinion, very, very messy early on and at the beginning of the film, and even messy in the third act in terms of the pacing. That's the biggest complaint I've had, but it did not keep me engaged in the 3 hours and 9 seconds that I was in that movie theater for watching the film. Again, go check them out. They're both fantastic films, both Barbie and Oppenheimer. They're fantastic films. Both films deserve the praise, and I can't say much more about them other than just check them out. Check out our reviews. We'd appreciate it so much. I want to jump in really to. It's kind of two Spider-Man news. So if you haven't already heard at San Diego Comic-Con, the PlayStation 5 is finally getting its first bundled Elite, in a limited edition bundle, where it is a PlayStation console that is selling other than the usual white, with the white console with the black trim. I will have a photo right here, right now. So we're finally getting our first one that isn't going to be this one. And we are going to be getting a custom console that is here labeled as the Spider-Man bundle for exclusively, obviously, for Sony. It's a PlayStation 5, and you can see right here as I'm putting in right here that it is the PlayStation 5. It's different. It's got some of the symbiote with the Spider-Man logo, and even the controller has a symbiote kind of taken over it. It's really cool. They showed this really cool video to present it alongside with a story trailer as well, which is super, super awesome. There is no MSRP on it just yet. I would assume it'd be right around the $550 range, because that sounds about what the bundles were selling for, at least for God of War and the Modern Warfare 2 one, and any other one like the Horizon Zero Dawn bundles that they have had previously. It is gonna be open for pre-order this Friday on July 28th. I'm going to assume it's going to be the same time they did the Spider-Man 2 release, which was 7 a.m. I think 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's going to be available for pre-order on the 28th, and it's going to be available shipping out on September 1st. There's no word on if you will get early access to the game on September 1st. I doubt that, just because the game, I can't justify, or I don't think it makes sense to give access to a handful of gamers who buy the console early access to a game over a month before, maybe a few days, as we've seen other games do that, where you buy the game, if you pre-order the more special edition or the more premium edition of these games, they give early access to those who purchase those 2 to 3 days. Excuse me. But yeah, so it's going to be available September 1st, and it is available. A good thing, if you already have a PS5 and you're not looking to purchase a brand new console, well, whether you are or not, but they are going to be selling the side plates as well as the controller separately. So that's pretty awesome. You will have the option to purchase the controller. Obviously, the controller isn't the first custom controller that we've seen. We've seen the God of War one, the Hogwarts Legacy one, and then obviously they have the Cosmic one. Speaking of also other limited edition PS5s, LeBron James is also getting a PS5. We heard about his limited edition controller, but it is now confirmed he is getting a limited edition PS5 himself, which I will have a photo of right here. But to move on to other Spider-Man news, so recently, Thomas Hayden Church, who is infamous for playing Sandman in both Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man No Way Home, recently came and talked to comicbook.com, and the article is written by Adam Barnhart, who comes on to write and say Thomas Hayden Church has now appeared as Flint Marko in 2 Spider-Man films, obviously Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3 and Marvel Studios' Spider-Man No Way Home. If he gets his choice, however, the actor would most certainly appear in a third one. More particularly, Comicbook.com's Chris Killen, he would love to appear in a fourth Spider-Man flick from the mind of Sam Raimi. There's always been some kind of, I've heard rumors that Sam is going to do another Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, and if it happens, I would probably campaign to maybe at least do a cameo. Church speaks with us in support of Key Cox's Twisted Metal. Is Sam Raimi the question? So obviously, with that being with his statement, that obviously brings up the question of is he going to be doing is there a Spider-Man 4 on the way with Sam Raimi helming that film? Raimi has long been attached to a fourth Spider-Man project, with Sony even pushing the film into pre-production point. The filmmaker has now said he's down to return to such a project, especially after shooting a multiversal project like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I've come to realize after making Doctor Strange that anything is possible. Really, anything in the Marvel Universe, any team-ups, Raimi said last year when he was asked about a possible Spider-Man sequel. I love Tobey. I love Kirsten Dunst. I think all things are possible. I don't really have a story or a plan. I don't know if Marvel would be interested in that right now. I don't know what their thoughts are about that. I really haven't pursued that, but it sounds beautiful. Even if it wasn't a Spider-Man movie, I'd love to work with Tobey in a different role. Yeah, I mean, hey, a pretty interesting comment if you ask me. Who knows? With what's going on with everything at Marvel right now, and not just with Marvel, the whole Hollywood industry, it's a very interesting state. With what's going on. Obviously, you have two strikes. You've got two strikes going on right now in the writer's strike and now the SAG-AFTRA strike. The writer's strike, the Writers Guild and the actor's strike. But the reason I say it's interesting is because you don't have anything that you can work on. And obviously, we've heard that a lot of people, we've seen so many people campaigning. I'm just going to have to say that the likeliness of that happening, in my opinion, is probably on the lower side. The reason I say that is because depending on how long these strikes take, it's going to be tough because we don't know how this is really going to affect. Obviously, I said on a podcast that things are probably going to be pushed back years with how long this takes. They're not allowed to cast anybody. They're not allowed to have writers work on anything. Obviously, producers can work on things. They can write the stories themselves. We've seen that happen again, and we've seen how messy that has turned out. I mean, I don't want to say it's kind of like in the situation of never say never because you really don't know. It's always a possibility that Spider-Man 4, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4, I should say, is happening. I'm gonna have to say it's definitely a no right now, only because we know Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4 is a for sure thing. They have talked about it, and we know that's happening. The thing is, we know that's happening due to contract obligations. The Spider-Man films for Marvel and Sony have made too much money for them not to do a fourth film, but we know Tom Holland is obligated by contract to do another film, whether or not he says he's taking a break from acting. But But again, never say never. There has always been the rumor that Andrew Garfield's Amazing Spider-Man 3 is also in development. In all honesty, whether Sony would put actual effort into making decent stories for these films, they are quick cash grabs if Sony really wanted to do that, especially with No Way Home. We're going to go ahead and just get into the final topic of the episode, which is Dave Johnson, The Rock, contributes a historic donation to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation Relief Fund, says President Courtney B. Vance. It's a call to arms for all of us. On July 13th, a SAG-AFTRA leadership declared the union was going on strike. The SAG-AFTRA Foundation President Courtney B. Vance and Executive Director Sid Wilson drafted a letter to 2,700 of the union's highest earning actors outlining the financial need that many would face in the work stoppage. Having been through this during COVID and having such a great response from our own memberships take care of their own when the strike was decided, Courtney and I sat down and said, our team said, here we go again, Wilson tells Variety. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, a nonprofit organization associated with the union but not a part of it, worked to provide financial relief to many of the union's 160,000 members via the foundation's emergency financial assistance, which will again be used to help actors during the strike. Shortly after sending the letter, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's team reached out to say he wanted to help, so he and Vance hopped on a call. It was a love fest. It's like, man, you're going to step up in a way that is allowing others to know the dire necessity of it, Vance told Johnson about his contribution to the fund, noting that the exact sum of being confidential, but he was heartened by an A-lister's generosity. This is him saying, in such a time as this, I am here and I am not going anywhere, whatever you need me to do. And that sends a huge message to other folks to do the same thing. Yeah, obviously, with this, I think it's such an awesome thing for Dwayne Johnson to do this, mainly because it's just like, we know, like, obviously we've bashed him a lot on this podcast for what he's done to the DCU, the Fast and Furious franchise. He's even wanted to join Marvel. Like, we've bashed him so much, but at the core, I genuinely do believe that The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, is a good person. He is wildly loved, and yeah, despite him being an issue in Hollywood franchise productions, I love Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for the type of person he is. I love him growing up, obviously, in pro wrestling. And yes, as he's transformed into Hollywood, the later years these more recent years, he has seemed to be a little bit problematic. But at the end of the day, it doesn't help, to bash him in the sense that, what he's doing here is awesome. There's no way to not say it's not. Whether it is coming from a wholeheartedly decision, he's doing it. That the thing is that he is doing it. And it's just like, you just want to hope that he's doing it in the fact that he wants to do it and not just, doing it to bring this media attention to him. But I think it's awesome. I think the rumor is that it was well into the seven figures, which is over $1 million. I am going to assume that's going to go a lot of ways for everybody who's included in SAG-AFTRA, which I think is absolutely awesome. And if Dwayne Johnson is willing to step up and help everybody who is a part of SAG-AFTRA, I can only assume that there are going to be many other actors and actresses on the level and even bigger than Dwayne Johnson that are going to be willing to help out. It's bigger than just, hey, it's bigger than just walking off a set of a movie. It's bigger than just saying, hey, we're in solidarity. Obviously, it's about doing your part when you're at the level that Dwayne Johnson and all these other A-listers are. So it's just like, we've seen so many people out there. We've seen Sean Gunn out there. We have seen Aunt May, the original Aunt May from from Sam Raimi's trilogy. I am blanking on her name right now. It's like Bob Odenkirk has also showed up. We've seen Jack Black out there. It's been amazing. It's been amazing to see people stepping up. Rosemary Harris. There you go. I do apologize. We saw her out there, and she's 95 years old. She's out there walking, supporting everybody. It's an awesome thing to see people step up and fully show their solidarity for SAG-AFTRA, and it's just like there's so many people just showing up in support, as well as all, us here at Our Real Addiction. It's just like we are obviously in solidarity with SAG-AFTRA and both the Writers Guild, because they do deserve to have living wages. And even bigger issues is how Netflix posted a job about hiring, I believe, an AI project manager at, I believe, like 190 million. They're offering $900K per year for an AI project manager role, whereas majority of their editors and writers were receiving less than, I think, like $20,000 a year, which is not okay. I think this is absolutely ridiculous that they are willing to offer a $900,000 a year salary for an AI product manager. It's simply not okay. So I think, it's just like they are, SAG-AFTRA is united. The Writers Guild is united. I think it's just awesome to see. It's awesome to see Dwayne Johnson giving back to those who are in the same industry with him, but at a lower level than what he's doing. And I hope, and again, I hope Dwayne Johnson is just the start of those who are willing to help out with this. It's just like, especially with the cast of with both casts from Barbenheimer, I'd really love to see them step up, especially with how much they're in the media right now and how much leverage they have over the media and how much they're talking to the media. It'd be cool to see a lot of them come out in solidarity and maybe even, donate whatever they can to the SAG-AFTRA Relief Fund. And hey, maybe even the Writers Guild, because it's just like, I think, it's just like, I'm sure they have their own, financial needs that they need to address. But I think we're going to wrap it up here again. Hope you enjoyed this shorter episode. It's clocking in at about 30 minutes. Again, we do apologize that Miguel couldn't be here with us today, but don't worry. He is going to be back next week with, obviously, on episode 132 and a brand new episode of TV Inquiry. That's going to do it. As always, I am Adam, and this has been episode 133 of Our Real Addiction. If you already haven't, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@OurRealAddiction, and subscribe to all. Follow us on all our social medias. Those are going to be linked down in the description below. Sick Parvis Magna.